everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a video about me taking therapy over this kind of whole time, and kind of how I found it and my thoughts and my feelings. So if you guys follow me on Instagram, then you'll know that I decided to take therapy during kind of like quarantine, because I basically found it really like overwhelming, and my anxiety was like getting really bad again. And I just thought that I wanted to do something with my anxiety before it got worse. Now, I know that I am a very kind of like privileged person in the sense of I can afford to pay for my own therapy, and I know a lot of people can't afford to pay for their therapy and they're waiting on the NHS list. I've nothing against the NHS kind of therapy, anything like that. I mean, I did do NHS therapy when I was like 17, 18, so about 5-6 years ago. But yeah, in this case, because I was able to afford private, I decided to go for private therapy. And yeah, I found it really kind of beneficial, so I'll let you know. Ignore, I've got the window open, so that's why you can hear the bell of the bike. Yeah, so it was a 7-week course, and it was an hour a week, so that was kind of like enough time to kind of discuss things and learn some tips and tricks, and what best like practices to do with anxiety. Obviously anxiety is like a huge kind of wide range of things, and it can span from like, you can get anxiety on public transport or on airplanes, or in public places where it's crowded. So it's all different kind of things that you can get anxiety for. My anxiety mostly is on public transport, and that's where I mostly feel kind of most anxious sometimes, and where I tend to have panic attacks. So that was kind of the reason why I decided to go to therapy, was because I was afraid that if I was going to wear a mask on the tube, bearing in mind my tube journey is about 40 to 45 minutes long every day, twice a day, that I would struggle. So that's why I wanted to do it. I just wanted to learn some more coping mechanisms of how I can best deal with it, because it's quite a long time on the tube wearing a mask, especially on the line I take, which is normally quite hot. So yeah, that was kind of like my end goal basically. So yeah, I started therapy about 7 weeks ago. I've now completed my course, so I thought now is a good time to talk about it. And 7 weeks ago was like a massive change to how I feel now. I was pretty down in the dumps. I was kind of on the verge of going down kind of a dark hole. I was quite negative all the time. I just wasn't feeling myself. I was very anxious. We were due to move. That was kind of adding to my anxiety. We were just coming out of lockdown, so that also added to my anxiety, more so than when we went into lockdown, which is kind of the opposite to some people. So yeah, I just wasn't feeling myself, so I thought, right, now's the time to kind of do something about it. And I really wanted to make sure that because at the time we thought that maybe by September we would be back in the office, so I thought now's a good time to start therapy, and then by September I'll be in the office and able to go on public transport. So that's kind of what we based it off on. Obviously now that is not the case. We're still kind of working from home, and who knows when we're going to go back into the office. So yeah, my therapist was really lovely. It's really important that you feel like you're well connected with your therapist. So I had a 30-minute free session with her to begin with, and if I didn't feel comfortable, I could always like request to try with another therapist and see if I felt more connected with them. Luckily the therapist I had was brilliant, and we got on really well, so that really helped. And I stuck with her for the rest of my course. So the first week was just about kind of getting to know me, and kind of what are my anxious triggers, what sort of situations do I feel anxious in, what sort of situations don't I feel anxious in, kind of just like putting together a picture of when I feel anxious and when I don't feel anxious, and also kind of like my thoughts and feelings at that moment in time. So obviously, like I said, 7 weeks ago I was a lot more stressed, a lot more anxious, a lot more down in the dumps really. And yeah, so the main kind of reason I said to her was, look, I'd not been on public transport then, so I was a bit apprehensive about going on public transport because the tube can be very hot sometimes and sticky, and when you wear a mask it can feel even more hot and sticky. And sometimes that can make me instantly panic and feel like really like claustrophobic and horrible. So that was kind of like where we started. So I said that, you know, sometimes I feel a lot less anxious, I should say, on buses, because buses I think are a little bit easier for me kind of mentally because they're overground. There's a lot of flowing air through. If the windows are open, you can kind of get off and walk out in the fresh air, whereas if you're in the tube, sometimes you're kind of underground. You know, if you wanted to get off the tube, you have to kind of get out of the train, go up the stairs or wherever to the exit before you reach some sort of open air, before you can take the mask off. So it's very, very different, because sometimes it's a bit of a longer wait until you can take the mask off. Whereas on the bus, you can kind of just step off the bus and take the mask off and you feel a bit better instantly. So that's kind of where we started, and then kind of over the 7 weeks we kind of just did like each week we would learn like different techniques, and then I would go away and in my own time I would, you know, go on the train or the bus. So kind of how I started was I would do like one stop. So I would go on the train for one stop with a mask on, get off, come home for one stop, and then gradually build it up. So I mean, I haven't fully gone to work yet because I don't need to, because we're not going into the office, but I have been to like Piccadilly Circus, which is kind of like a 15-minute train drive, and then I've also been on the bus to Piccadilly Circus, and that was okay. I mean, because of the time of day that I was traveling, it wasn't that busy. If you guys have ever been on the tube, you know how busy rush hour is, and it's still kind of not to the rush hour levels. I'd say it is a lot busier now than it was 7 weeks ago, but even now if you travel at certain times of the day, it's still quite quiet. Yeah, so that is kind of how I built up to it. And some of the techniques I learned is, you know, instead of counting stops, put things in place that help you. So, you know, maybe you read a book and you say at the end of these 2 chapters I'm going to reach my destination, or in 10 songs time I'm going to reach my destination, or if I watch one episode of Grey's Anatomy, for example, I'll reach my destination. Something just to keep you like mentally occupied, but not necessarily counting the stops, because sometimes I feel like when I'm counting the stops, if maybe the train is taking a little longer to move from a train stop or get stuck in a tunnel, for example, then I start to feel a bit more anxious. Whereas if I'm kind of just like not looking at the stops and I'm kind of just reading or listening to something or watching something, I tend to kind of like zone out, and that's a good way, she said, to kind of focus your mind on that and not focus on kind of feeling anxious. So feeling anxious is kind of a defense mechanism for your body. So it's kind of like when your body goes into flight or fight mode, and the way that our body reacts is a natural way. So feeling anxious is kind of natural sometimes in some situations, but it's when you feel overly anxious that is not normal, basically. And it's just kind of about like dealing with them and working out what your body is doing so that you can be in tune with your body. I mean, I've had anxiety for a good 10, maybe like 9 or 10 years now, so I'm pretty much in tune with my body. I know what my body does when I feel anxious. I start to feel hot and sweaty. My breath is like really, really short. I start to feel really sick and dizzy. So they're kind of my main symptoms. So I know if I have like kind of those combinations, then I'm starting to feel anxious. And nowadays I have like certain coping mechanisms that I take with me, as you guys probably know if you've watched my videos before or read my blog posts, and they're normally kind of like cold water is really good, because if you start to feel warm, you can just pop it on your face or your neck and it kind of cools you down. Chewing gum is another good thing, because it kind of just brings a bit more freshness to kind of like your lungs and just makes you feel a bit better. Any kind of mint really. I use Bax remedy as well. That's kind of like a herbal remedy that you just pop on your tongue. Although I don't know if this necessarily works, it's just it may just be a mind thing. So once you've popped it on, you feel instantly better. I don't know, but I still carry it around with me. I have kind of like my favourite music that I listen to. Again, that's another coping mechanism, because I know that when I listen to that music, it's kind of like a safe place. So that's kind of how I've been dealing with it. And I'd say it's really helped, because even though there are obviously some times when I still feel anxious, I know that it's not a long lasting thing. It will always kind of like go away at some point, you know, and sometimes you kind of just have to ride it out, and it will end at some point, although it may not feel great in the meantime. So that's kind of one thing I learned, which is good, because sometimes when you do feel anxious and you do feel like it's never going to stop, you know, trying to think that it's very like short and it's not long lasting can help, because you know it's not going to last forever. So there are some kind of good things that I've picked up from therapy. Other things that I picked up is that sometimes some of the anxious things I do is actually not anxious related. It's actually normal things, but they don't come under being anxious. So for example, if I'm going to a new place or a new restaurant, I will tend to look up the restaurant online or the new location online. And it's not because I'm anxious, it's more because I'm inquisitive and I'd like to know what the surroundings look like. Because I do kind of like to know like how big the place is it a crowded place, are there going to be lots of people there? Obviously not kind of now, but before. If I was going to a concert, for example, I tend to look up that venue and see if the venue was crowded or not crowded. And that's more to do with like, it is kind of managing my anxiety, because I can kind of see the location before I actually attend it, but also it's because I'm being inquisitive. So my therapist said that sometimes the things that I class as anxious are not. So yeah, it's just about kind of realizing which falls under me being anxious and which is just like normal things. And that was really helpful to know, because I just thought everything I did was because I have anxiety, and that's not the case. So yeah, I think that now, you know, 7 weeks later, I've changed, like I've kind of done like a 180 because I just feel so much more like myself now. I mean, obviously being in a new environment and a place that feels very positive really helps. Being in a bigger room helps as well. Having a proper desk helps as well, because I can, you know, properly work from home. I'm going away next week, not the week that this video goes up, the week after, so that will be really nice, just like a mental break from work and home. I'm seeing some friends quite a lot, family I'm seeing quite a lot, so those type of things are really important to kind of like, you know, help lift your morale. You know, going out to eat regularly is just like normal things to make you feel normal, really improves your like mood and how you feel. And I think that that's something we've all been missing. And although obviously I'm not going out every single day, I'm still being very careful. I am trying to get back to some normality, and that has really helped with my like mental state. And also kind of like uploading videos and YouTube has been really good, because I really love what I do, and I think that when I do that I feel kind of like safe and at home, because it's something that I enjoy, which is why I'm glad that I do it for like a hobby and I don't necessarily do it for work. Because I think that if I ever did like YouTube or blogging for work, it would be like quite stressful, because I'd have like deadlines and I'd have to think about what to upload. But because I do it as a hobby, it's kind of like free flowing, and I can upload it when I want, and I can think of ideas when I want, so it just takes the pressure off it a little bit more, which is why I really enjoy it. I mean, I've loved decorating my room as much as I have at the moment. I'm still going to be decorating it a bit more, so it's not finished yet, but it's as good as it can get for the moment. I mean, it's still a bit messy in the corner, but anyway. And I've got my little side business, so I will do a video on that, probably in the next video actually, which is very exciting, so that's all going well. And yeah, I just feel like I'm in a better place mentally, physically, and you know, that is really good, especially in our current climate. And I just know that if I keep this mental state, that I will be you know, good for the next however long. I know it's not going to last, but it's good for now, and especially because I know how down in the dumps I was and how close I was to falling down a dark hole, and that's why I'm so glad that I chose to kind of do therapy at the time that I did, because I think if I didn't, I would have seriously struggled, and I don't know how I would have pulled myself out of the hole that I did pull myself out of, because even my friends and my work were like, what's wrong, like you're not yourself. And now I do feel like myself. I mean, obviously there's still things that stress me out and still things that make me anxious, but I'm not constantly anxious like I used to be. Like, I was anxious like every single day. I was down in the dumps every single day, and now it's kind of like the odd day here and there, which is pretty normal. So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to write a blog post up on this and therapy and kind of how I found it, but I just wanted to sit down and let you know that it was really good for me. And you know, if it's one thing that the NHS spend money on, more money on, I think it's so worth it, because I think everyone, you know, even if people don't think they have problems, there's always things that people, you know, if we talk about things, it just helps. And even if it's something like you don't like the food that you have, or you're sad because of the weather or something like that, it just helps to talk to someone else, because it just it just lifts all the weight off your shoulders. Whereas if you kind of keep it to yourself and keep it all inside, it's not healthy. So that's why I found it really, really helpful as well, because it kind of just lifted loads of weight off my shoulders that I didn't know was there, and also has made me feel like myself again. And you know, I'll be forever thankful for that, because I know how close I was to going down a dark hole, which is never very good. But then again, this year has been one of a kind, and a lot has gone on. So, you know, I mean, when I look back, I kind of know why I was going down a dark hole, which is always good to know why as well. But also kind of how to prevent it in the future, and just like talking to people as well and reaching out for help when you kind of know you need help is really important. Like if I reached out to my friends, my family, and asked how they were, that's really important as well. So I think, as well as kind of like physical health this year, mental health is really important too. So I mean, I'm always said to you guys on my social media that I'm very open if you guys want to message me and you've got any questions or problems, and you know, I'll just be there to listen or to have a chat with. So I'm always very open to that, because I know how it can be sometimes to not have someone to talk to. So yeah, sorry for the motorbike again. I think I'm going to leave this video here because it's probably quite long. I mean, I can't really read the time because I've not got my glasses on. But I just wanted to sit down and give you an update on therapy and kind of a little bit of the tips that she gave me. And hopefully that helps some of you guys out, because I know there's a lot of you guys who are on the waiting list who've told me that you are on the waiting list. So if in the meantime I can help you guys out with anything, then I will try my best, and that's why I film these videos, because some people find them very useful. If it's not your type of topic, then you know, I've got other videos I will be uploading, so it's not all going to be about mental health. But yeah, I enjoyed this, so I'm gonna film my other video for next week, and I will see you in next week's video.